So I want to talk about how simple but powerful perspective really is and how you can use it to actually build the life of your dreams and stop feeling all of these struggles all the time. So first we need to kind of understand the way that the brain works through all of this. And the biggest thing is that your brain isn't showing you reality. And what this filter is based on your belief system of your past experiences and what you expect to happen. So think of it as kind of like wearing sunglasses, where instead of just the tint like regular sunglasses have, your tint is all of these things like fear or self-doubt or judgment or whatever it is. And so when you're looking at your reality and life through this lens, that's what you're gonna see. But if you decide to tint those glasses with self-love and curiosity and all of those types of things, that's the world and that's the perspective that you will start to see everything in your life through. There's a quote out there that says, we don't see them as they are, we see them as we are. Think about how think of a person, right? And maybe you have a really bad perspective or experience of that person, but then someone else has a really good perspective of that person. It's not necessarily because of that person. It could be. That could be a mix of it. But a lot of it has to do with your own perspective and how you're viewing things. Once you start changing that internal perspective, the exterior world will change with it. And it's not because the external things change, it's because you did inside. And that's what I mean by it is this superpower that we were born with, but we've never really been taught how to use or to cultivate that superpower. And it really is such a simple thing, but it's so foreign to so many of us that it seems too easy, too good to be true, right? But if y'all have been on my channel, you know I don't believe in that. There are actually studies out there that have been done that prove that a shift in perspective and reframing a thought can reduce anxiety and fear and all of these things, right? So for example, I've been going through this whole medical thing for the last few months. I have this little, it's actually not little, it's pretty big, lump on the back of my neck. And at this point, I've gone and gotten an x-ray, I've gotten an MRI, I've gone to a dermatologist, I've done an ultrasound. I just came back from an appointment with a plastic surgeon literally 15 minutes ago, and no one has been able to figure out what exactly it is and what's going on. And I caught myself getting really frustrated because I've been going through this for months and I have zero answers. I've spent lots of money, spent all this time, and there's just no answers, right? And I was like, well, what's a perspective shift I can use with this? And that is, well, hey, at least I know it's not cancer. And so I changed my perspective. Instead of getting frustrated that I don't have an answer, being grateful that I don't have an answer I don't want. Does that make sense? And so now moving through this process has been a little more bearable and less frustrating because I had that perspective shift. And actually that's what inspired me to make this video today. So the facts didn't change. I still have no idea what's going on. The outcome didn't change. I still have to go and do all these things to kind of figure it out. But what did change is my experience with it and my feelings towards it. When you do things like this, your nervous system can relax a little bit. If you want to learn a little more about that, I will post this video right here. When you start to do these perspective shifts, your brain can kind of open up and look at different options and solutions. And instead of being closed-minded, it's instead of this is being all that you can see all of these other options around you. It's literally a neurological upgrade. So one of the biggest ideologies that I came into when I was first going through my spiritual awakening years ago was that everything was inherently neutral. And this is still something that I haven't completely been able to embody, but that I can at least understand intellectually, which even in the beginning, it took me a while for me to even wrap my head around that. Whereas everything is neutral and we give it meaning. So meaning is something that we assign to that thing. So for example, if you're going through a breakup, right? You can look at it as, you can give it meaning as, oh, this is a failed relationship, this isn't good, I'm a failure, this didn't work out. Or you can look at it as, okay, this is a redirection, this is going to be an upgrade, this is a chance for me to, be happier within myself and give myself more love and find the person that's right for me. Or maybe, you got fired or laid off from a job, and you can look at that in the same perspective as like, oh, well, I'm a failure, what am I gonna do, and freak out and have all this anxiety and fear and all this. Or you can look at it as an opportunity to embark on something that, you've always dreamed of, but you didn't have the courage to, because you were kind of like locked into that job that was draining you. So if you think about it this way, imagine like two people, right? Person A and person B. They go through the exact same experience. I think there was like a study done, or maybe, I don't know, it was something I read a while ago, where it was like two twins, right? They grew up in the same household, same parents, blah, blah, blah. One, and I think it was like their mom or their dad or something was an alcoholic, and one grew up to be an alcoholic, and it kind of broke him, while the other one went the opposite direction and had a very successful life and was happy and all these things, right? So what that shows is that two people can have the same exact experience but take away different things from it, and the only thing that's different between those two is that difference in perspective. So the bottom line here is that you can't control everything that happens, you just can't. But what you can control is the lens, remember those sunglasses, the lens that you view it through, right? So let's get a little spiritual here for a second. Across a lot of spirituality and religious teachings, such as like mystic Christianity and Buddhism and Stoicism, there's a common thread where peace doesn't come from controlling the world and everything around you, but changes based on how you relate to the world, right? So it's based on your perspective of those things, not your control of it. So for example, in Stoicism, it teaches that the only things you actually have control over are your thoughts and your responses. What that means is you actually hold all of the power in your life and all of the things that appear to be wrong or challenging. You're the one that can change that lens that you see things through. So in the beginning of this video, I told you that you could shift things instantly. So I want to give you a few ways that you can kind of try that and test it out. I say try and test it out because you want to find something that, does work for you, but you also need to understand that you want to make the decision that like you do want to change this thing about yourself, right? Like if you're an angry person and you don't want to be anymore, you have to decide that and make that decision before trying these things, right? But that doesn't mean you can't try different perspective shifts and questions with yourself and things like that to see kind of which ones will like flow and like resonate with you. So a really big one for me that I use quite often and quite recently with all these changes in my life has been a big one. And instead of saying, why is this happening to me? You could reframe it as, well, what is this teaching me? What can I, instead of looking at a situation and say, what is it taking from me? You want to look at it as like, well, what is this giving to me? What perspective shifts is this giving to me? What things can I, what's that thing? Making lemonade out of lemons, right? Like that kind of thing. Like instead of looking at it as a negative, it's like, well, how can I look at this as a positive? Even if it's like the littlest thing that you can find that. When you are in a state of victim mentality, that is going to drain your energy and drain your power. When you move that into a state of curiosity, that is what gives you that energy and that power back. The next one I want to give you is when we have resistance, that's when we tend to, mentally suffer, right? So instead of saying like, this XYZ shouldn't be happening, you can say, well, XYZ is happening, now what? When you accept something, that is what allows the energy to flow. and that is what will create movement, and that's what will allow the next steps to appear in front of you, right? So we want to get away from the resistance of something happening and welcome the acceptance of it happening. And when you get that perspective shift, you will gain clarity instead of feeling like chaotic and frazzled and confused and drained all the time. Now, this one has been a really big one for me over the last few years. I used this a lot when I was like healing from past relationships and feeling like, well, why did that person treat me that way? Whether it's like a romantic or family or friend or whoever, right? Like, why did they do that to me? Instead of looking at it that way, you can look at it as, well, perhaps that person was doing the best that they could from their level of awareness, right? Because I always spew to you guys, you can't do anything or change anything unless, sorry, it's like itchy out here with all these bugs, but unless you have awareness of it, right? So a lot of people, they lack that awareness. Now that's something that can change, but when you look at a person, instead of looking at them as like, oh, they're being malicious and they're treating me terribly and all these things, well, it's like, well, maybe they just simply don't have the awareness and they're doing the best that they can, right? I was in a pretty long-term relationship with this guy like years ago, and it was really bad. And one of the things I always thought, even while in that relationship, was he is loving me to his max capacity. Now, it wasn't enough for me, the bottom line was, but that's, I think, what kept me in that relationship for so long, was because I had the understanding that that was the best that he could do, and so I was appreciating that he was giving me my all, even though like it was bullshit. And lastly, I use this one pretty much daily. Instead of saying like, I have to do X, Y, and Z, saying I get to do X, Y, Z, right? So for example, like, oh, I have to go to the gym today. Well, I get to go to the gym today. I have the ability to go to the gym today. Or, oh, I have to do my laundry. I get to do my laundry. I have clothes and a location and places to go where I'm wearing these clothes, so I get to do the laundry, not I have to do the laundry. And this is one that like will really instantly change that perspective for you, that you can use literally right now on something. So if you want to feel more at peace, if you want to feel more empowered or more love, you don't need a new job or to move or a new body or a perfect partner. All you need is to change your perspective of the situation. I hope you guys found value in this video. I love you guys so, so much. Don't forget to subscribe so we can hang out again next week. And don't forget, be limitlessly yourself.